Hi, welcome to the Soundtrack of Our Lives podcast. We are Sky and Michaela, and we hope you enjoy this as much as we do. On today's episode, we'll be talking to special guest Samara Lennox. They're the latest single, Fears That Keep You Running, from their upcoming debut album, What Are You Running From, is out today. Samara is a Seattle-based Mexican-American non-binary recording artist. Music is their outlet for vulnerability. They are an advocate for mental health awareness, having spent years working with the local nonprofit Keep Choosing Life, producing events based around suicide prevention and mental health awareness. Okay, so the first question is, who has influenced your music the most?
Oh goodness. Well, growing up, my dad would listen to a lot of he listened to a lot of country music also, which really did not influence me whatsoever, but we would also listen to a lot of like soul music or like funk music. So I think that had like just kind of all around, I think that had a big impact on what I was making, but I would say my whole life, everyone has always compared my voice to Adele. And although our styles are not similar in any way, I do think I love the vulnerability in her voice and in her lyrics. And then I also think like this new wave of artists who are talking more about like their darkness and more like diving into mental health, like for example, Billie Eilish. And like I think the original people who kind of started that wave happened like much longer ago, but I do think like this kind of resurgence of it has been very inspirational for me and made me feel like I could feel safe in like releasing stuff that is as vulnerable as I do. So I think that's kind of like re-inspired me lately.
Yeah, that was my
That's
favorite
amazing.
part about listening to music was just the vulnerability. It really spoke
Thanks.
to me. Especially Hooked on Comfort really spoke to me. I listened to it, I'm like, that is my problem. I just tend to like stay and get comfortable somewhere and then get nervous about doing something else. So it
Yeah,
really spoke to me.
it's easy to do that. It really is.
I have to say that a lot of like people are scared of being like vulnerable and putting their like actual feelings out there and everything. So
Yeah.
it's amazing when people can be honest and actually sing and talk about what they're going through and what they're feeling. Because that helps a lot of people. Like
Yeah,
that actually
totally.
helps a lot of people.
I
So
think to be honest, I have kind of a hard time expressing my emotions like in everyday life. I'm someone who like ever since I was a kid, I kind of had to like be the rock in my family. And so I would definitely kind of like put my feelings and emotions aside in order to like make room for other people's, which is a habit I've been working very hard to break throughout my life. But I think that that's why my music has always been the way it is for a while it was my only outlet into actually expressing my emotions. And sometimes it would be like didn't even know what I was feeling, and then I would write a song and suddenly I would like understand the emotions I was even feeling. So I think it's nice to be able to have an outlet like that, even if sometimes it's hard to actually express them when I'm just, interacting in life as an actual person.
Yeah. Emotions are hard.
Yes.
definitely. So are there any artists that you look up to at the moment? And is there anyone that in the future, if you have the possibility that you would like to collaborate with, who's that person that you would be like really, really happy to collaborate with?
Oh, there's so many people that I feel like could go on that list. But I would probably say Miley Cyrus would definitely be one of them. I feel like we've all been listening to her since we were kids,
Since Hannah
obviously.
Montana.
Um,
Oh
Yes,
yeah.
literally. And I think that that would be a really cool collaboration. I also think I'm always bad at this question. I need to just have like an answer ready to go. So whenever people ask me this, I know exactly what to say. But I think that someone I would also really love to collaborate. You know what? I'm just gonna also say Adele because I think that like our styles are very different, but it would
Hmm.
be cool to do a collaboration with her. I also think Lizzo actually would be someone I would love to do a collaboration with. I think that we would bring something very different to the table and it could be very interesting. So, yeah.
Lizzo would be so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would
I mean,
sound
her,
really good with your voices together.
I agree. Yeah.
I think
Also,
it'd be really
the styles are also like very different, but you can definitely like come up with something
Yeah,
that could
I
work.
like doing collaborations with people that sometimes are in like fully different genres as me, or not even different genres, but just like very different styles, because I feel like then you can create something completely new and interesting. And it kind of creates this like very interesting element coming from two different perspectives, you know?
Mhm.
That's amazing.
What do you like to do outside of music that contributes to the creative process when you make your music?
I love doing everything creative. Like I love painting. I love I've actually been writing a book, like a fictional novel, so I love doing that. I really like doing interior design. I'm actually in my girlfriend's new apartment. The walls are very barren right now, but we've been like they literally just moved in last week and we've been like I've been doing all the interior decorating, which has been really fun. Just like anything creative pretty much. I think that it helps me do creative stuff other than music, to like keep the rhythm and my like flow going, and then it kind of inspires my music. If I'm just like always in a state of creativity, it kind of helps me like get just stay in that state all the time. So
I know a lot of people like nowadays, there's a lot of like especially in the studios, they have like different lights, different colors, different, vibes. Is there anything that you like to do like that? Or do you always have
yes.
your like same place, same area to create your music?
Well, okay, so I think that lights have a giant impact on your mood, like the color of lighting. So I always, depending on what type of song I'm writing, or even when I'm in the studio recording, my engineer has like LEDs inside the booth that change colors. And I always will have it be based on whatever mood that song is in. So it can kind of like get my head in that right headspace. I think it really helps me like dive into my emotions when I'm in that colored lighting. But I think that honestly, you have to kind of just get comfortable writing anywhere. And that was something that was kind of hard for me for a while. I used to really need everything to be like in its exact place. I'm on the spectrum. And so sometimes, like, when things aren't exactly how I need them to be, it's a little bit hard for me. But because like as an artist, obviously that's not going to be the case most of the time. I definitely try to practice writing and being creative in environments that aren't necessarily ideal, just so if I'm like, when I'm on tour at some point and I'm trying to write, I'm still able to do that. And I'm not having any like boundaries on my creativity. So,
Okay. That's great. That's great. I know nowadays, like I said before, people have all these lights and all these sets, and depending on what they're writing, they would put like blue lights or red lights
yeah.
or stuff like that. So it's great. I feel like when you write music in the same space for so long, sometimes you tend to like get stuck in the same
Mhm.
like feeling. So it's good to have that change and be able to switch.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, yeah. So going off of that in terms of writing your music, so when it comes to like producing your music, do you do everything on your own? And then what's the process of finding the sound that you want for a specific song?
Yeah, so since I was like 16, I've been working with the same producer. His name's James Crux. And we've always done stuff basically just like in collaboration. So I also produce with him. But we just work together to produce, and then sometimes I'll show up with a song like already written, an idea in my head, and I kind of like already know exactly what I want. Other times I'm just feeling chaotic and I'm like, let's just see what we come up with today. Who knows what's gonna happen. So yeah, it's kind of different every time, but I feel like My favorite, I love going there without anything and just kind of seeing what I come like what we're able to come up with. That's also what I've done with like some of other producers that I've worked with outside of him. I just will like show up with nothing, and I love to just kind of like trust that the inspiration is going to come while I'm there. But when I'm not working with a producer, I would say I love to just write like either on my piano, or I'll do this thing where every time I hear like a melody in my head, or I have like a slight idea for something, I just record it in my voice memos, and I have like 10,000 voice memos. I have so many. And I a lot of times like go back through them when I'm writing also, and just kind of dig through and find ideas that I forgot about, and then use those for inspiration sometimes too. So it's kind of different every time, honestly.
Okay, that's good. Do you like usually write something, like you have some lyrics and then you try to start finding the music for it, or sometimes you start just like playing around and then seeing what type of lyrics match what you're like playing?
So for me, the lyrics and the melody always come at the same time. I just kind of like I this sounds weird. I feel like when I say this, but I always say I just like open my mouth and see what happens. And I just like hope and pray that something like something good is gonna come out of it,
Mhm.
basically. But sometimes I like to start with like a chord progression,
Okay.
but I usually don't like to have ever like a full piece of music before I
Okay.
do lyrics. Because for me, I've noticed that it's easier to write when I feel like it's the lyrics and the melody are being built with the music, like almost as their own instrument.
Mhm.
That's kind of fitting like inside of everything. I've tried to do the like top line thing before, where someone's just sent me a beat and I've tried to like sing on it, or even like when I've done features in the past. And I feel like it's just never as good. It
Mhm.
always just feels very contrived to me, and less authentic than I would like. So I think my favorite way is when I can kind of do everything simultaneously and build everything together at one time.
That's definitely like a great idea. Um, I have worked with like singers before. I'm also like a music producer.
Oh yeah.
So sometimes I'm like, okay, I have like this progression, and I just started messing around with it, like different rhythms, different stuff. Uh, and if she starts singing or whatever, and I feel like the chord doesn't go with, I'm like, okay, let's just change that one.
Yeah.
uh and I have in my phone, like you said, like a bunch of voice memos, because also we start like singing. We realize real quick that if you're not recording and you sing something good,
Oh, it's gone.
oh, it's gone. Yeah,
It's
you're
gone.
not able to come back to that melody or
uh,
to what you said or the way you sang that. So it's very relatable to have like your phone full of voice memos.
yeah. That's happened to me so many times, where I've sang something one time and I wasn't recording, and I like run to get my phone to record it and it's just gone. And I always would be like very sad about that, but I feel like it was meant to be. Like it wasn't meant to come to fruition, so it's okay.
Agree.
So can you tell us a little bit about your process for your new single, Fears That Keep You Running?
Yeah, so Fears That Keep You Running is very much so about kind of being like gaslit a lot throughout your life, to the point of thinking that because of the traumas you've been through, you're like, I would say a monster is kind of an exaggerated word, but that is the character that I'm playing in that song. Is I'm kind of like when I perform that song, I sort of like really do, I go back and forth between like this scared little kid to like a monster of sorts, like someone who's so consumed in their own darkness that they represent all of the most negative parts of them to the fullest extent. And I think that that's kind of what can happen a lot of times when you've gone through trauma, and there's been a lot of like manipulation and gaslighting and things like that going on. You really can think that you are the reason why all of those things happen to you, and that there's like this darkness inside of you when really you've just been through trauma.
Mhm.
And I think when I wrote that song, I had gotten out of an abusive relationship prior to that, like I want to say maybe like a year prior to writing that song. And then I had like a best friend of mine that was getting into an abusive relationship, and I was seeing that she was getting into it, and I was like trying to stop it, and I was trying to do everything I could to kind of like help her get out of the situation. But to be honest, she was kind of just like in too deep at that point. And I ended up like, he kind of ended up like pushing me out. And it kind of like ruined our friendship, to be honest. And I think that I was just really tired of seeing what happened to me happen to other people. And then I was also really frustrated with, I felt like at that point in my life, I was around a lot of people where I had shared very intimate details about my trauma with. And I had like felt like I found people who maybe had either gone through similar things or had kind of like just understood where I was at. And then I came to find out later that like that really wasn't the case, that they really didn't get where I was coming from, or like we were kind of on like two very different pages, and I didn't realize that. And so I think to be honest, it came from a place of anger. It came from a place of feeling like no one understood me at that time, like I didn't have anyone I could turn to. Like anytime I shared my trauma with people, I was kind of just seen as like too much. And I think that kind of, I wrote that song really quickly. Like I remember getting home one day after like a particularly bad day, and I just kind of like went into my room, sat at my piano, and I think I wrote the whole thing in like an hour or like half an hour. Like I wrote it really really fast. And then I took it to, at that time it was in the middle of COVID. It was during COVID. So I was doing a lot of writing over FaceTime with people. And I was working with my producer over FaceTime. And so I called him and I was just like, we need to do this right now. Like, I have a song, we need to make it right now. And yeah, so I think that that's why that song has a lot of like energy in it, and it's very like, and I think it's because I had so much emotion in me when I was making it that it kind of just like came out in an explosion, sort of.
Mhm. That's great. I mean, writing a song in like 30 minutes to an hour, I'm gonna say that's like very impressive because most of the time, yeah, most of the time, like when you sit down to write a song, the first 30 minutes or an hour is just like messing around,
Mhm.
trying to find what you want to say. Or
Yeah,
even if you write something during that time, you end up being like it wasn't good, or you realize that that didn't even like go together or didn't make sense. So
yeah. I used to do this thing called the hour sessions. I I did it just with me and my friends for a really long time, but then I also did it. I was doing a collaboration with Park Ave. They're like an artist networking platform and like resources
mhm.
platform. And I did a collaboration with them where I did them like during the pandemic when we were all in lockdown. I did every Wednesday. I would like host one on Instagram Live, and basically the parameters of it was that we would all have to write a song within an hour. And the first or and basically you couldn't bring anything into it that you had before, so all of your ideas, all of like the lyrics, everything had to be created within that hour, and you had to write a song from start to finish, and then you would perform it afterwards. And I got that idea from like this camp, or it was like a songwriters workshop that I went to when I was a kid. And basically we would kind of have to do a similar thing, but it would be like you write it in like a day, and then you have to perform it for a bunch of like industry mentors. So
Okay.
I got the idea from that. And me and James, my producer, had been doing that for like a few years, because we felt like at some point we knew we were going to be in studios with like artists who had been, in the industry for a very long time, and we wanted to just like be faster at making music. And so we're like, let's practice doing this quickly. So by the time we're in those opportunities and in those situations, we like know how to handle ourselves. We can like think quickly on our feet. And I feel like that exercise has made me a lot faster at writing. And to be honest, like the majority of my songs on my album came from hour sessions. Like the majority, I feel like, of my best songs have come from like writing them in just a very, very quick time, because it takes all the pressure away from it and it makes it much more like organic. You would think that only having an hour to write something would make it like more stressful, but
Yeah.
because you have to come up with something and you have to finish it, even if it's bad, like it's I feel like it makes it better. Like it just makes it easier and takes some sort of pressure off for some reason. So yeah.
Okay. Wow, that's I have no words.
Crazy.
Yeah, because like I said, like an hour, that feels like, I don't know. I could make like a beat or something, but just like writing lyrics and all that, that's you have to have like that talent to be able to do those things.
Oh, thanks.
Oh, you're welcome. I feel like that's very, very impressive. Based on what you were saying, I know if you've been like making music for like 14 years or something like that.
Yeah, since I was like 12.
Okay. Do you have any type of formal like music studies or something? Or did you just get into it on your own and start like learning on your own?
Um, I I took piano lessons when I was like 7, but I didn't want to do it back then. So as much as my mom tried to get me to like
Yeah.
stay in it, I just would not practice. So when I was like when I feel like I would just kind of play around on instruments, even though like I only stayed in piano lessons for like a couple months. But I feel like I picked it up pretty naturally. Like it just kind of made sense to me. So even
Mhm.
though I didn't have much knowledge behind me, I kind of would just like figure songs out, or I would like look up the chords to things and I would just like learn how to play them. And then same with guitar, like I would just kind of like I didn't really like teach myself how to play. I would just like teach myself chords and then I would practice the chords until I could play them and then I would just write a song using those chords. So like I still feel like I wouldn't say that I actually know how to play piano and guitar. I just have like memorized enough like progressions that
Mhm.
I like will play, but like I don't necessarily know actually what I'm doing. But I think that I would just write all the time when I was like when I was a kid, whenever I was feeling like upset or alone. I feel like I definitely struggled as a kid. I had like kind of a tough childhood.
Mhm.
So I definitely really struggled with my mental health, but back then no one in my family really like that wasn't something that was talked about. Especially growing up in like a Mexican household, I just feel like that's really not something that's talked
Yeah.
about or normalized. And it's very much so like I love my family, nothing against them
Yeah.
whatsoever, but I do think like it's very much so like walk it off type of mentality, like pick yourself up and get over it type of
Yeah.
vibe, you know? And so I think um there wasn't much like there wasn't much like sensitivity, I guess,
Okay.
to it. And then also I didn't know I was on the spectrum when I was a kid. Like I wasn't diagnosed until like
Mhm.
recently, actually, until like the last couple years. And so that also I think like made me feel very alienated a lot of times. And so I would just end up spending a lot of time by myself.
Mhm.
And I just like I had an old piano from my mom in my room, like a keyboard from like the 80s that she had. And my dad and my mom both were artists in their own right, like in not music wise, but like other forms of art. And so
Okay.
there was a lot of creativity in my household.
Okay.
And I think it was just always in me. Like when I was like 3, I would like run around in my underwear just like singing all the time. I would just be like singing in the house. I like put on concerts for my family.
Yeah.
I just think there was literally nothing that was gonna get in the way of me like making music. It was just like
Yeah.
I was like born for it, I think.
That's very relatable.
Yeah.
That's what I got to say. That's what I have to say about it.
So going off that kind of, you talked a lot about just like the importance of like vulnerability in your music.
Yeah.
How do you like incorporate that into music, and like what do you want people, fans to take out of it?
Yeah, I think that for me, because my music is one of the only ways I feel comfortable expressing myself, it's just going to automatically be there because that's like for me the only place that's a lot of times the places where I felt comfortable being vulnerable. Because if you think about it, like when you're a kid writing music, it's not like, I mean, trust me, I definitely was picturing myself like at Madison Square Garden performing in front of millions of people.
Doesn't
But
everyone?
like, yeah, right. But when you're in that moment, like there's no one there. So you're
Mhm.
not thinking about like this is gonna go. I think some people think about that when they're writing music, that like a lot of people might be hearing this, but for me, it was like the only times where I truly felt like I was like alone and like doing something for myself. And so I never really thought about it being weird that I was being vulnerable in my music because I was just by myself anyways while I was
Mhm.
doing it. So I think though that it's helped me be more vulnerable in life. Like I always try and show up very authentically. I always try and show up just as myself. And I think that we lack a lot of just like human connection, especially nowadays. And the more authentic I can show up and I can be around other people, I feel like the more authentic they're able to be with me. And I've always just had a really hard time with like surface level interactions. So I think that just expands to everything I do. And I think that vulnerability is great. I think that sometimes it can be dangerous.
Mhm.
I think that I've been too vulnerable with the wrong people before, and it's put me in dangerous situations. So I think, but that doesn't make me want to not be vulnerable. That just makes me want to pay attention to who I'm interacting with
Mhm.
and follow my intuition and follow my gut and just protect myself and make sure that like I'm not giving away information that could be harmful to myself later on.
Mhm.
But I do think that like vulnerability is great. And I think it's obviously a hard thing. It's obviously something that doesn't always come easy, that we're not necessarily taught to do. But I do think that like it can really change our lives to just be honest and to just show up authentically and to just talk about how we're feeling. Because there's been so many times in my life where I was struggling so much. And if I had just been able to be honest with someone about how I was feeling and they could have responded in a way of like authenticity rather than like fear and
Mhm.
like understanding my experience and like also being able to be vulnerable about their experiences with me, I think that as a kid that would have, and just out also as an adult, that would have made me feel so much less alone. And I think that that is part of the reason why vulnerability with like my fans and with people I interact with is very important to me. It's just like I don't want anyone to feel like they're alone in what they're struggling with, because the fact of the matter is like we're all going through the same things in different ways. And like
Mhm.
human emotion is there, like we all are feeling the same types of emotions but different things are triggering them. And when we can be vulnerable with each other, then we're just learning more about what is affecting other people, and it's broadening our perspective of the world and our view of the world. And it's just making us more of a community, honestly. Like even people who you wouldn't necessarily think of being in the same community have the opportunity to connect with each other when they're vulnerable, because we're all going through this, we're all dealing with the same types of emotions in different ways. So
Mhm.
yeah, I just think it's really important. And I just think my main goal always is to make people feel less alone in their experiences.
Okay. Okay. Definitely. I know that you said you come from like a Mexican family and all that. And I know that nowadays like Latinos and Latina like families and all that, we still don't believe, because I also come from like a Latino's family. So I know for a fact that we still don't believe in like mental health
Yeah.
and being depressed. Like
Yeah.
why are you sad? Like you have everything. That's like, why are you being ungrateful? Or like they think it's something else. Maybe we're not close enough to God, and that's why we're feeling the way we're feeling.
Yeah.
So I can definitely like relate to what you're saying right now, because I know they don't believe in like it's very new. They're just starting to get
It's very new.
into the mental health thing, and like if you say that you need help, it's like, okay, but what's wrong? Like, why do you need help? You have everything here at home.
Yeah.
It was never like, oh, we're glad that you're asking for help and we would like to give that to you.
Yeah. And I do think it's gotten better. I also think my family is very spiritual.
Mhm.
So it's very interesting because there's so much grace within like spirituality, and there's so much like choosing yourself, but then also within like Latina culture, I feel like there's so much like you're doing it for the family, you're doing it for the
Yeah.
community. So it's a very interesting juxtaposition.
Mhm.
Also my mom is white and my dad's Mexican, and so that also is a very interesting juxtaposition because they come from very, very different backgrounds. And I think that that always played a very like big role into like everything growing
Yeah.
up, especially like experiences. And I do think that like things, especially with my mom, I'm very close with my mom, and I
Mhm.
think that like we've been able to have very candid conversations about mental health as I've grown up. And she's been able to like come to terms with like her own struggles with mental health, just kind of re-talking about things that happened growing up, and like realizing like, okay, this happened because of this, or like we reacted this way because of this, and just like dissecting everything, which has been very healing for me. I think if I hadn't been able to do that, I don't know how close I would have been with like my family, but I think because of that, I've been able to like really, really heal a lot with like feeling disconnected from them, or like feeling like they didn't understand
Mhm.
the mental health aspect of things.
It's great if you're able to have a relationship with your parents. I personally, like, I recently just started creating like a closer relationship with my mom, because I
Mhm.
always had like a wall that would stop me from getting there.
Yeah.
But once they start understanding you and who you are and what you're doing, and they stop like judging you before like listening, you're
Yeah.
definitely like start creating like a closer relationship.
Yeah.
So that's just great. We're talking about a lot of like sad things right
Yeah.
now.
They don't have to be sad though. It's
No, I
But yeah,
know.
they're good things though.
yeah,
Yeah.
Like
they're good.
healing
And
is good.
yes,
Yeah.
yes,
No,
exactly.
definitely. It's
Everyone
part of the
deserves to heal.
yeah,
Yeah.
no. It's part of the process, and I really hope that what we're talking about today helps a lot of people out there, because I know a lot of people are not able to be vulnerable at home, or they're not able to get help. And based on these things, what like topics are you gonna be talking about in your upcoming album?
It's very much so kind of the storyline of it is someone who already struggles with mental health experiencing a trauma. In my instance, that trauma is pretty much based around sexual assault. There's some more complicated nuances
Mhm.
and more intense things in there that I won't go into right now, but it's generally about that. So it's basically about someone who already deals with mental health, that happening, and then pretty much like completely losing yourself, kind of like spiraling down this rabbit hole of like PTSD and of like disassociating and of like just not knowing who you are, or feeling like nothing matters anymore, and just getting very depressed and kind of like going away from your friends and family and just feeling very alone. And then the journey of like reconnecting with the people around you and healing and finding yourself and kind of like just becoming a whole new version of yourself after a trauma has happened, and like really rediscovering who you are and what's important to you. And that's just my story, to be honest, but that's also the story of the album. And the way that I've done it is every song I'm kind of playing a different character, and I'll be simultaneously playing myself as I'll be playing a type of mental health struggle that I was going through. So whether I'm playing the embodiment of anxiety, of depression, of like disassociation, you know, and those types of things. It's like I'm playing different characters throughout it, and I'm basically, yeah, just telling the story of like kind of finding myself again. And then there's this moment at the end of the album with the final song, which is probably one of my favorite songs on the album, actually. But it's kind of me like looking back on my journey and being just very in the moment and being like, wow, I can't believe I like made it out through this and that I made it this far, but now like look at who I am and like look
Mhm.
at how strong I am and what I'm capable of, and just being so proud of myself. And so I think it's a story a lot of people can relate to. I think it's a story that a lot of people go through, especially anyone who experiences severe trauma at a young age. And I hope that it touches people the way that it's touched me.
And then, so I've heard that you've directed a few music videos, both for yourself and for other artists. Can you talk a
Yeah.
little bit about that?
Yeah, so I started directing music videos back in like 2018. I started with, or 2019. I can't remember. One of those. And
Pre-pandemic.
yeah, yes, pre-pandemic, yes. It started with my song In the Dark Times. We filmed a video in this like old steam plant, and it was like very cinematic and cool, and I kind of just realized that I like loved doing that. And so I started doing it for other people. The first project I did for someone else was this project called Jock, which I did with one of my very good friends, Gemma Cross. She is an incredible photographer and videographer, and that project was like it was a friend of ours who was releasing a project, and it was a 5-song EP, and we just first project out the gate, we decided to just do like a visual album for him and just do all 5 songs, and we did them in like 2 weekends. It was like really crazy and hard, but it ended up being really cool. And then I did a few other projects for a few other people over the years, but the two that I like were like the coolest for me to do were 2 projects that I did in at the Paramount in Seattle. One of them was called Alibi, and it was for a friend of mine. Her name's Zahara. And then the other one was called Alone in the Dark, and it was by actually my vocal engineer, who's also an incredible artist. His name's P. Cruz. And both of those videos were great. They were like so fun to direct. They were very different from each other. Zahara's was very like old Hollywood. She was kind of like, it was supposed to be kind of like her getting ready to perform. And so we had her like in the bathtub, and there was this like old phone that she had, and we like got to use this like the VIP room at the Paramount that had like this beautiful bathroom and beautiful bathtub in it. It was a really cool experience. I grew up going to that theater, so getting to like, my mom and I always loved like musicals and plays, and that was like our thing growing up. It was like our special thing. We would always go see shows whenever we could. And so getting to like film 2 music videos in that theater was a very surreal experience for me.
That's crazy.
We got access to like every single part of the theater, like to the point where we got to see under the stage and see like the mechanics of like the lifts and like that type of stuff. We got to walk up on like the catwalk where the light engineers are on. Just so many things that like I literally never could have imagined I would have gotten the opportunity to do. And I think it's like probably going to always be one of the coolest things I've been able to do, just since I did grow up there, and like I grew up going there. And yeah, it was really cool.
That's amazing. I feel like when you get to like achieve certain dreams, even if they seem small for other people, that's something that like changes your life and gives you like motivation and all those things. And you just mentioned that you like musicals
Yeah.
and you grew up listening to musicals. What is like your favorite musical?
Oh goodness. That's a hard question. there's this one called Next to Normal. And I didn't realize how much I liked it until my girlfriend's sibling recently did an adaptation of it at their college.
Mhm.
So we flew over there to see them perform in it. And it's such a beautiful story. It's about being in a family with a mom who has bipolar disorder. And it's about just like that struggle of going through that. And it's a really emotional story. It's very visceral. It's very like uncomfortable at times, but very
Mhm.
cool. And I love I love that. Like I watched it on at the Paramount when I was a kid, and then I saw it
Okay.
again last year when they did the production at their college, and it was just so cool. But also my guilty pleasure favorite musical is Legally Blonde.
It's a good one.
Because that was one of my favorite movies growing up, and it's just so fun and cute and quirky. So yeah.
That's great. I have to say that as a musician, I can do musicals. I
They're not for everyone. They're really not for everyone.
I've seen like popular ones that are like on TV, like movie style, whatever, but I really struggle with when they're not like having like talking time and then like singing or whatever. Like when
Yeah,
it's just singing the whole time, I struggle a lot because that doesn't feel like natural to me.
yeah.
Like you're just not going through life singing.
I definitely like the ones that are like a good balance between like conversations and normal talking and
Yeah.
singing. I always, whenever I watch like movies at home or TV, I always have the subtitles on. And
100% same.
I always wish that when I was at a theater that I could like turn subtitles on, because I feel like especially when you're at musicals, sometimes like there's just so much to pay attention to
Hmm.
that sometimes I'll like not realize that I haven't heard the last like 5 minutes of talking or of singing, and I'm like, wait, what's going on? Hold on, backtrack. So I
You can't
definitely,
rewind.
yeah, you can't rewind. There's no subtitles, but
Yeah.
it's I think I've always loved getting lost in something and then realizing that there's like hundreds or thousands of people around me doing the exact same thing. And I think that that's very interesting that like we can be in a room with so many other people and get so lost in what we're watching or what we're experiencing that we forget that we're not alone.
Yeah.
And I think I've always loved that about being in the theater, is that like you kind of like feel comforted that there's a lot of people around you, but then you also just like I tend to forget that anyone else is there. And I find that very interesting.
Yeah, it's such a weird, like, it's an interesting dynamic what happens in a theater.
Yeah.
Do you have plans to direct music videos for your new album?
So I don't think I'll be doing music videos for the album other than what is currently out, but I will be doing probably some like visuals for them.
Okay.
I am currently working on a project with a friend of mine to update my like live visuals that I have playing when I perform. And we've been talking about potentially like releasing those as like a short little like visual for the album. So there might be some sort of visual component, but it won't be like full music videos for this project.
Okay. Okay. So that mean that you have any upcoming shows anytime
Yes,
soon?
I do. I have two festivals coming up actually. I'm playing Belltown Bloom, which is at the Crocodile in Seattle. It's May 5th and 6th. I don't know which day I'm playing yet, but that is going to be very fun. The Crocodile's in a new venue for anyone who knows what it is. It's like they have like three different stages now. There's even a hotel upstairs. It's like a whole new thing. It used to be just like a one stage venue, and now it's like this giant thing. And it's a really cool space. So I'm really excited about that. A couple of my friends are the ones that are throwing the festival, so I'm also just excited to be able to be a part of it and support them. And then I'm also playing Capitol Hill Block Party again this year. I don't think I'm allowed to say what stage I'm playing yet because they technically haven't been announced, but it is a much bigger stage than I played last year. I will say that. And I'm very, very excited about it. So my performance is definitely going to be much more elaborate than it probably ever has been before. A childhood friend of mine who's a choreographer, we've been working together, and I'm going to have like dancers, and there's going to be like new visuals, and it's going to be like a whole production. So I'm really excited about it.
That's
We
exciting.
are really, yeah, we're really excited for you. Let us know, like, update us on like dates or whatever. If you have any maybe headlines tour that you decide to do over here,
Yeah.
let us know.
I'm
It will
out in
be really-
Boston, so
Okay.
anything on this side, I will definitely go and see you.
Yeah, I mean, like towards LA or whatever, let us know. I'll show up over there.
I actually I might be playing a show in LA this year, but it's very like up in the air. There's a friend of mine who lives there, and we've been talking about wanting to do a show together. So
Okay.
I would say like 90% sure that there'll be something there this year.
Oh, that would be amazing. Just let us know. Or at least I'll try to show up.
Okay.
Who knows, Michaela wants to come out here. So she might show up as well.
Yeah.
So is there anything else that you would like to tell people out there about your music, your upcoming album, or any message that you want to just put out there for people?
Yeah, I think I'm very excited for everyone to hear it. I think that this album really feels like me. It really feels like it's literally my story, but like outside of that, it feels like the music is very much so like I'm very happy with the sound that I found for this album. And I really feel like it represents me very well. And so I'm really excited to be able to share that with everyone. But also, I think like just don't be afraid to choose yourself, and don't be afraid to be vulnerable with people when you feel like you want to, and not be vulnerable with people when it feels like it's not a safe situation for you. And just trust your instincts and trust yourself, and you're not as alone in your experiences as you think you are, and finding like a chosen family is something that really makes you realize that. And if you're someone who struggles with like your actual family, don't be afraid to try and find a chosen family at some point in your life, because it really will change everything for you. Like as a queer person, my chosen family is my everything. And I think that like that is so important. So yeah, just trust yourself. You're not alone. And hopefully you're able to find people at some point who understand you and who share your experiences. So
Share your social media so that we can add that.
Yes.
So people know where to find you.
My Instagram is Samara Lennox. So SAMARALENNOXX, 2 N's and 2 X's. And so, but also just my name. And then my TikTok is actually, it's at the original Cheetah Girl. My other one got shadow banned, so I had to make two accounts. But yeah, and those are my main accounts that I use, to be honest. So you can also follow my Twitter at Samara Lennox, but there's not that much on there. So yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for being here with us today, sharing so much, being so vulnerable, sharing about your music, your experiences. We are very excited for you. We can't wait to see what's coming up this year, and we can wait for the album release. So
thank you so much, you guys. This was very fun. This was my first podcast I've ever been on, and I really enjoyed it.
This is the first interview for our podcast. So
oh wow, that's so cool.
Yeah.
I love that. First for everyone.
Yeah. So that was really exciting. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you. This
and
is very fun.
Coming to talk to us.
Thanks for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Okay, thank you so much for listening. Be sure to subscribe and follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at STO Lives Podcast.